welcome to another segment of Converging Systems University. The topic today is Circadian Lighting with ELAN's automation platform product. The eNode 4000 has an embedded circadian processor that enables solar tracking anywhere in the world. Required equipment includes the ELAN series of advanced automation processors, Converging Systems eNode 4000 gateway with built-in PoE, as well as calibrated CSI FLA linear LEDs, as well as absolute light fixtures, as well as other CSI calibrated LEDs. Network requirements include a LAN connection for both the ELAN equipment as well as the Converging Systems product line. Now let's understand the states of Circadian. Initially, Circadian server enabled means that any dealer or user selected Circadian supported LED device will automatically follow the applicable Circadian schedule as set within the eNode. Normal operation means that any user intervention or event triggers will pause the Circadian server, enabling those commands to operate. Circadian resume automatically advances to the actual time of the resume to match the circadian level at the resume time, rather than the time the Circadian server was paused. This figure represents the various ranges of spectral output possible depending upon the point that the sun hits the horizon or below the horizon. Standard circadian technology from third parties typically falls within the inner box, standard spectrum daylight. However, expanded spectral ranges are possible, and those can be selected within the eNode, which we'll see in later steps. Now let's get started. The first step will be integration requirements for the eNode. The eNode is a UPnP compatible device which can be discovered in standard means from Windows File Explorer. Simply open File Explorer, hit on Network, Other Devices, and you'll find the eNode. Double click on the eNode and you expose the web page, which we will use in subsequent steps to perform the settings required. In addition, ELAN has a discovery capability that can also be used to find the UPnP device, double click on it, and so you can proceed. Now that you have reached the eNode setup server, select the eNode tab, select Settings, and enter your applicable geographical location that will be used by the Circadian server. Next, select the Ethernet tab where you will be able to set up static IP addresses that will be used with ELAN. Next, select the Telnet tab. The eNode has 4 discrete IP sockets that can be used for communication. ELAN will only use one of those sockets. Change the username and password as appropriate for your needs. Next, select the Circadian tab, set the server to enable, and pick your twilight range from the possible choices. For the broadest circadian spectrum, pick astronomical, then hit restart to save your changes. As the final part of setup, let's discover and rename connected CS Bus devices. Select the CS Bus tab, select the spyglass, and allow the system to gather information on connected devices. See our quick start guides for more information on renaming and setting these particular features within each of the discovered devices. Before leaving this section, let's make sure that we understand the steps that we have taken. We've set up the eNode and we've connected devices and discovered them as per our normal installation processes. We want to make sure the eNode is connected to the internet in order to have geopositioning reference possible. And finally, we've activated the Circadian server within the eNode to enable the next steps to occur. This next section deals with the programming steps required within ELAN Configurator to enable circadian and lighting control with Converging Systems products. Before we add a new lighting device, you must download the latest Converging Systems driver. This driver can be found either on the ELAN Management Cloud Marketplace or within the Converging Systems website under Resources, Automation Partner Drivers, and select ELAN. Once the driver is downloaded, go to the ELAN Lighting tab, add a new lighting interface by right-clicking here. Search for your previously installed device driver and select OK 2 times. You must now establish communication parameters with the eNode within ELAN Configurator. Go to the IP address, enter the IP address that you set up in previous steps as a static address, as well as the username and password. Hit apply and then select discover devices, at which point a 20-second discovery process will occur that will find all connected devices connected to the eNode. These drivers will appear as shown below. There are 4 major categories of lighting devices that are supported by Converging Systems. Of special interest is the special device type entitled Spectrum, which is the only device that is compatible with the Circadian server. During the automatic discovery, you will see a number of blue icons and green icons that will appear. These blue icons refer to the type of dimming device discovered. These can be used within customizable scenes, within scenes, and elsewhere within the ELAN UI in order to control a particular light. The automatic discovery will bring in the zone group node address and the alias names of all devices that had been previously set up with the eNode discovery tool. A sample project has been created. Its output is shown on this slide. Of the devices that have been discovered, again, the full spectrum device is the only device that will be available for circadian linkage. Now that we have discovered devices and understand what those devices actually can do, we now need to further understand how the circadian server actually works. The circadian server is able to track the sun's output from before or during sunrise through sunset or thereafter. Then any full spectrum device that is linked to the circadian server will be able to track the sun during the cycle. Now that we have enabled in the previous section the circadian operation on the eNode, and number 2, we have discovered a full spectrum device, now we have to link those 2 operations so that the circadian operation will actually occur. The linkage occurs by executing the solar command for each circadian-ready device. Note, the circadian operation will continue for that linked device, and that device will automatically adjust its full spectrum LED output from sunrise or before through midday sun and continuing through sunset or thereafter until interrupted by any user intervention. Once halted or interrupted, the circadian operation will recontinue in the following 2 cases. Number 1, you re-invoke the solar command, and number 2, you wait until the next calendar day when the circadian operation will auto-resume. Depending upon your version of the eNode driver, the special solar trigger may not have been included in your driver. If you don't see solar under Discover Devices, create one as shown below. Create a new dimmer type, call it solar, give it an address for the device that you want it to cover. If you want it to cover an entire group of devices, use the wildcard 0, in this case 210, for all devices that have addresses greater than 0 in the 3rd octet. Recent versions of ELAN's core now support the location capability for lighting. After you have set up locations, assign the various discovered devices to those locations. Assign the solar dimmer that has been either auto-created or manually created in the last step to the location called solar. Depending upon the size of your project, create one or more virtual locations named solar and assign relevant solar operators into those locations. This is so that the status indicators on the ELAN UI remain accurate when lights are turned off, but the background circadian server is still running. We have now finished the setup required by the dealer within ELAN Configurator tools. Let's summarize what we've done. Step 1, we've added the Converging System lighting driver. Number 2, we've added a solar resume device type, if not already created, within Configurator to enable the circadian activation and/or circadian resume. Step 3, we've assigned the actual discovered devices to existing or newly programmed locations, and we've assigned the resume operator to a phantom group called solar. And finally, step 4, we suggest that you provide these instructions to your customer on the use and operation of the circadian feature set, and just let them know how great it is during a demo. Note, actual directions are included in example number 2 later within this webinar for further help. Let's look at some simple examples on how lighting can be implemented using Converging Systems driver, and number 2, how they can be linked to this new circadian feature. This first example will deal with a typical use case where a full spectrum lighting controller has been created and assigned to a location. As in the intro, we're going to discover Converging Systems devices. We're going to assign those devices to applicable locations. And finally, we're going to assign those locations to an applicable ELAN user interface using Configurator's Interface Device tab. Just like that, we're done. Select the lighting page on your user interface and engage. Now let's look at an expanded case to example 1 where a circadian server has been added. This is the user interface that might be left with the customer. They can select the solar icon on the UI to restart or initially start the circadian server. The circadian server will continue until it is interrupted by a user override, at which point it can be resumed by simply selecting the solar icon the first time to reset it, and then a subsequent second time to restart it. Otherwise, on the next calendar day, the circadian server will auto-start. As before, we're going to discover devices, and we are going to assign those devices to appropriate rooms, except for the solar command. The solar command we are going to allocate to a unique location called solar. This slide then summarizes the use pattern for circadian with the Converging Systems products. Initially, the homeowner will invoke the circadian server by selecting the solar tab as shown in the image below. So long as the slider by solar is at a level above 0, light will illuminate during the program periods. Anytime during an active circadian session, if the homeowner decides to create their own scene, turn a light off, or do anything else to the light, the circadian server will be paused. At that point, the circadian server is on pause for the rest of the day until 12:01 a.m. when the server restarts. However, during any period of a pause, if the circadian server is desired to be re-triggered, the user simply goes to the solar entry, toggles it off and back on again, at which point the circadian tracking will resume. Thanks for watching our video. More information and quick start guides can be found at this link. See you at our next CSI University training session.